Alright, what's up, yins guys? Time for another video. And this one, once again, too, I think it's funny, and I'm trying to get through this video without laughing at my own jokes or laughing at my own stuff, because where your own experiences, you know how you're in your own experiences, you think it's funny, whether somebody else watching or whether somebody else watching has listened to it, thinks it's funny or not, but yet, some people would have their own experience and they'd be like, yep. Oh, and this one about peculiar behaviors or opinions of old people. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against old people. Like, there's a lot of some of your best friends are old people, along with other races or whatever. It's just, do you ever? And I'm thinking too. I'm pretty sure that this is mostly a white people thing, like a white people Western PA thing. But some of you guys watching it, from other comedians and people, and I think it might be also maybe just maybe a white what do you call it, Midwestern a white Midwestern thing too. I mean, like, because I used to hear in the past Garrison Keeler talk about the Midwest or whatever, Midwestern town or church thing, or stuff like that. But yeah, I have some jokes from him in my head too. But anyway, yeah, I don't. And if there's anybody that's black watching this that that's has similar personality to certain and friends that are black and former neighbors that are black, can you tell me? I think more white people act like this, but if you have, black people that act like this too, like if you knew older black people that act like this, because just like white people, some have more wisdom than others, and some of them are more grouchier than others, or crabby than others, and critical of other. But anyway, yeah, this one, yeah, okay, they get on with it without trying not to laugh, because I actually think it's funny. And by the way, I think the stand-up comedian thing, talking about it, you might actually look like you're copying off of somebody else unwittingly. It's, as far as comedian material, it might have been done to death, but it's just my own take on how funny this shit is. All right, yeah, here goes. Yeah, you know how like some old people that they say this that doesn't make any sense, right? You know how everybody, when they're old enough to get a place of their own or whatever, have a job and get a place of their own, a lot of you guys watching, naturally, you might have parents or known your buddies' parents that would have the attitude, okay, you're old enough to have a job and have your first place of your own, now get the fuck out, or get the hell out, or whatever the hell, or something like that. And then others, might be, I think that's, what do you call it, normal. This is what you call a normal thing. But then there's these old people, you know how you get some old people that would talk about somebody, oh, what's so and so, why don't they get a job, or it's time, or now, or even whatever. But not all old people act this normal way. I don't know about you guys. In my area, I think I'm thinking it was probably a Western PA thing, unless you guys know otherwise. There was these old people that would be relatives or neighbors in the town I came from, right? Instead of the attitude about getting your own place, when are you going to, that they would actually talk about you, either to your face or around you, for actually getting a place of your own. And there was one time I knew I was certain neighbors, they're not even really bad people or anything, people I knew from town, oh yeah, first apartment and getting my own place, and they would go and talk to you like you're 8 years old or something, with this serious face. How are you gonna pay your bills? And I'm like, with the job I had for a pretty long time, or whatever the hell. And there was time, like I said in other videos, for Western Pennsylvania, having a pretty, starting out minimum wage, but you end up getting out of minimum wage at a particular point, for a while. But then on top of that, you know, they'll, if they don't talk, you get these ones that if they don't talk to you or about you like you're a child, they'll go and you hear them talking about you, or they'll say right to you, like, oh, you know, instead of how it's normal to get the hell out of your parents' house at some point, they'll go, I don't know what mindset they're in, if it's a Western PA thing or Midwestern town thing, if they'd be like, leaving your parents' house is a bad thing, they'd be like, oh, you hear about so-and-so, oh my God, he walked out on his parents, he left his parents' house. And the other old person would be talking like, oh, you mean he got married? No, he walked out just, what? Oh, and you did it without getting married. Oh my, you're that means it's only acceptable, I guess, if you get married or something under some people's rationality, right? And yeah. Oh, he left his parents' house. Oh, you mean he got married, right? The other one talking all calmly. No, he just up and left his parents' house. Oh my God! And the other one would be, oh my God, he left the house without getting married. And you're supposed to get married and do that or whatever. Oh, he must be on dope. You know, there was a lot of stand-up comedians that mentioned similar shit like that. Like I says, you know, if you did it as a stand-up comedian thing on stage, just talking about it innocently, I imagine you could probably look like you're copying off of somebody else, like a routine that was done to death. But yet, you know, like I said, the only thing I would be able to do is, like, you know, how Henry Rollins on stage, sometimes he's saying stuff like he's joking, some people laugh. Do it not as a stand-up comedian, like a talk thing. Not like people bust out laughing unless, you know, they have enough of beers in you. If there's a venue, you know, if you ever use it as a stand-up comedian act. I mean, it's just like talk. Maybe do it like Henry Rollins does or something like that. You know what I mean? Some people laugh and some people don't. Not that I am making this video about stand-up comedian. The only reason I'm saying that is you make reference to stuff you see on TV or whatever. And you might see a comedy act on TV that you're laughing about it and you're like, yep. But yeah, my own take on it is a different variation that certain comedians didn't cover. But as I say to you guys, yeah, I think it's a white people Western PA thing. It might be a Midwest, sounds like a Midwestern town thing too, or whatever, how certain old people are. And maybe, I don't know, some of your ex-co-workers, ex-neighbors that are black, it's not really widely known as far as I'm concerned, you know, few and far between, unless it comes up in conversation. But you don't know how many black people, maybe black people that are old people that act like us. In my experience, I'm saying that one is mostly white people that have that weird. But yeah, black people have their own issues with, say, other black people that are older folks, and same with other white people. But yeah, oh yeah, he's probably on dope. Oh, and if you got this far in this video, the peculiar thing about it is, too, they'll say shit like that, but in the same conversation, they'll be talking about their own, maybe sons, nephews or grandkids that are your age. Oh yeah, they got me, and they're they'll actually make an embellished story, like, oh, if it's their people, oh yeah, they can leave the house under their terms too. Oh, I guess it's because they got married. And you can tell by the sounds of it, it's probably embellished stories. Oh yeah, they is in Florida, and being in Florida, it could be anything. You could be living in some bungalow, a part of Florida. You ever hear the stories? There was a lot of good and negative stories about Florida. Yeah, you hear. You're laughing to yourself how they'd make the embarrassed stories about their own people that they approve leaving the house. But you're something terrible. You're on. Oh, you left your parents' house. You must be on dope. But they'll talk positively in conversation about their own people your age, like they have this anointed right to leave the house. Oh, maybe because they got married or whatever the hell. Oh, and the thing about, oh, so-and-so's in Florida, and they say it with a certain tone, like it's to lead the other person in conversation to believe But you know, how do you know they're not in some really shitty thing in Florida, barely making it? But you don't want to see anybody. Not that you want to see anybody barely making it either. But I'm talking about they'll exaggerate things in a good way and be raving about it when it's their own people. But this is usually old people that know you for some reason. They'll put their own, or maybe even somebody else's neighbors, people in high regard, and then they know you. They're not necessarily bad people, but they'll talk down to you and about you like you're, no matter how old you are, like you're perpetually 9 or 10 years old or something. Oh yeah, he left his parents' house. Oh, how is he gonna pay his bills? But yeah, I made jokes too about the thing too, having good paying job. One of my first good paying jobs in Western Pennsylvania, and having a place. Oh my God, he left his parents' house, and he's working some job up somewhere, and without having a haircut. Oh, without getting a haircut too. Oh man, that place he's working, it's probably one of them warehouses like I see in the old cop shows on TV, that it's actually a cover for a marijuana operation. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, oh yeah, he's working an industrial job, right? Yeah. Probably a cover for a marijuana drug operation. You know. Oh yeah, he managed to get a job above minimum wage without getting a haircut. He left his parents' house too. Oh my God! But it's like, oh yeah, my son or nephew or niece or whatever. Yeah, they talking all great how they left the house. Oh, they're in Florida, or they're a bunch of embellished stories of success. Or yeah, you'll get the typical thing that's typical, nothing wrong with. Oh yeah, so and so, he's away in college. If they don't say they were away in college, and they'll embellish about that, they'll embellish it. Everybody, in fact, nothing wrong with it. Everybody does that. Nobody's. Oh, but you'll get the ones like that'll do that, right? But it would come to you too. It's almost like that they don't like to be disproven, because stubborn old people, right? They're in denial with you or whatever, but they'll embellish the shit that about their own people. But like with you, they're in denial. It's almost like waiting for you to fail or something, or some rumor that, oh, I heard this and that happened or whatever, or I heard he got arrested for something, or something that he said, she said, something that never is true, or whatever. But yeah, I could go on about that. But yeah, I call it the Western PA white people thing, because that's what it is as far as I know, unless any of you guys out there have any other, you guys have a thing like that. It could be a particular region of the country where like that. But yeah, a lot of like, well, some of them, like, I'm 50 years old now, and there's like a lot of them, even though I haven't been in that town anymore forever, or places, but some of them, like at my age, there's some of them kind of old people that died off. They're turning into a dinosaur, pretty much. There are different kinds of old people now. They're a little bit, just like the same ones that, like I said in other videos, there's like the old people that were really nasty, like the old church ladies, that the old church lady dress and hairdo. The ones that if you succeeded without getting a haircut, man, you should have the police busting in your place, confiscating everything you own, throwing you in jail until you see the error of your ways or something. Like I said about those kind of old people, was joking about them. You don't see that around anymore. Like when I was a teenager, them become a dinosaur. Now you get a few of them. You might get a next generation of one that are turning. You get the next generations of that a little bit that weren't that way before, but when they turn into that would be a whole other video. I talk about that. You know how you get the next generation of the old person, the goofy old person. The babushka goes over their head all of a sudden. Somehow it just happens or whatever. You get those type, but most of those, like I says, it's a dinosaur. Old people don't think like that as much anymore. You know, they ain't gonna see you thrown in jail for the rest of your life if like when I was a teenager and almost turned my 20s or whatever in the 1980s. You know, it's kind of an old. But yeah, there might be a little bit of that lingering around, but it's mostly a dinosaur. But it's something like to joke about. You know what I mean?